It's another episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. We're going to just go through a lot of the things that we experienced through this offseason. It's a slow day, so might as well bring in a friend, AZ Sports Guy, to help us talk about all these things. So you want to stay locked in.
I didn't know.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everybody. This is Locked On Coyotes, your number one daily Arizona Coyotes podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Robyn Leonio. That's Carl Pavlak right beside me. I want to thank everyone for making this show your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including on YouTube, the Odyssey app, and if for those who are nice and local, we're also on the 12 News app. We got a great show for you guys today. We're going to talk just a lot of these casual off-season conversation. We got AZ Sports Guy joining us on this on this episode. Welcome to the show, man. It's great to have you on.
I appreciate you inviting me. I've never been on an app before. That wasn't Twitter.
It's very fancy. You can get it wherever apps are obtained. I assume you have to go to the dark web, like a news app. That has to be super high tech and secret, right?
Locked away somewhere. Locked on. Yeah.
Locked on, locked away. Yeah, we'll find it.
Absolutely love it. But for a lot of people who don't know you, I'm like you've been around in covering a lot of Arizona sports. Obviously, AZ Sports Guy. And look, you got all the jerseys behind you.
All this stuff.
It's absolutely amazing. And we're going to get into talking a lot of different things that we saw this offseason. And I want to start things off by going to the Coyotes Arena situation, because back in June we had the initial city council meeting, and I believe you were there, right? You were there as one of the people who spoke up in support.
For like 3 hours.
How did that meeting go? Because you were actually there. I know I was stuck in Tucson at the time, but
yeah, I was watching on TV. I left to go for a walk and then came back and it was still happening. And I'm like, God damn, this is way too long.
Gosh darn it, that's so long. Yeah, I was at work listening to it. I got through like the Coyotes spiel, and I'm like, yeah, donors talking, that's great. And then I think the airport came on. I make it home. Hey, do we still have time? Shower, whatever. Hey, can we make it over to Tempe? And for the last like 3 hours, the only time I was alive was when they voted to go ahead with negotiations, and when I went up there because I was terrified, and I can't talk publicly. Then again, I can't talk on YouTube videos either, so I suppose it's pretty consistent at least.
See, that's why I wrote my comment down and sent it in that way, because I am also not good at talking publicly. Can I ask, have you ever been to the Glendale City Council meetings?
I think I was in middle school to high school when those were going on, so I don't want to unintentionally lie. I think I went one, but I remember being in like the little meeting hall. I just don't remember anything from that, so I'm going to say probably one time.
I've been to a couple. They all blend together. So if you told me you had been to like 7 or 1, I would have been like, yeah, it sounds about right.
That's how it worked. Yeah.
and Carl can say how different they are, because
Glendale City Council meetings were always like even when you knew that there was going to be support, everyone was very tired that they had to be there. Like Tempe seemed excited and happy. Like even though it wasn't like a unanimous vote, they're like, "Oh, this is cool. Like we're all having a good time." Very different vibe from anything I ever saw in Glendale.
I mean, except for Donor, he was just that poor man. Was exhausted after. He's like, he even said, I hope this is the last one I have to go to. And I'm like, I understand that, but the fact that man is still there, he was there, the entire, 7 hours? From start to finish, that man was there. I'm like, I got nothing but respect. But yeah, no, I felt that, and I was only there for 3 hours, let alone however many that man's been to.
Yeah, but he's in the business now. He wears a suit every day. I'm sure he's used to it. Like, you
Bored.
have to imagine, like, phone calls with the NHL brass are worse than a city council meeting. Just like, all right, we're doing the rule book. We're on Rule Commission 75.3C. Should we remove this word or not? Let's hear some thoughts. Do you have thoughts on this charging rule?
Just add a word. I don't care what word.
Yeah.
Just add one.
Let's do it slightly different so we can just get out of here.
Look, we'll come back. We're going to talk about it next year anyway. Because the guy, like, he skated a little too fast for one small section. So we'll be here next year anyway.
I don't know why I picked charging. I probably should have done like offsides review. Something that actually changes. I don't think there's been any changing to charging since they invented charging. It's been a pretty consistent one.
Gotta be something, but it's probably like wording. Like, okay, the goes over here instead of here. Like, it's dotting your T's, crossing your I's.
I mean, they have to, in those cases, you have to be very specific, right? Because, like, you want to make sure that everyone understands. Because there are stuff where people, like, there are even still rules today where you're just like, all right, this is still very vague.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it was either an offsides or an icing call. I can't remember which, but I went into the actual rules and broke it down line by line for an article and be like, this is why it was not offsides. And then someone commented, they're like, did you just put because it wasn't offsides? I was like, I mean, I did put that. I didn't just put that. I had to explain why. When you write an article, you don't get to put like, because my opinion. But I have to say, reading the rules for whatever rule it was, it's just like, God damn, they put a lot of time and energy into this playbook.
It's a whole lot of words to say, not very much. I didn't mean to cut you off. I thought there was a pause.
Yeah. But anyways, though, kind of back to the whole like city council, the whole new arena thing. How excited are you for this potential new arena? Because we saw the renderings, right? I think both Carl and I can say, "Holy crap, this thing is beautiful."
Yeah,
I am. I guess just be a cynic for a few seconds. I'm more excited that finally, like, this can be done. Like, there's no more arena over our head. There's no more, oh, they're in a bad part of town. It's like, finally, quality spot of town, closer to the fans, closer where all the money's at, a good, solid building and a growing city. Like, finally have that. But then on the other side, it's just, the arena looks really cool, but also kind of like a copper saddle dome almost. Like, kind of like a Arizona Veterans Memorial Coliseum on steroids. And that's going to be really cool to see. I think it's like about 1,000 seats less than a lot of other arenas, but that's really not that big of a deal. We're playing in 5K right now, but I want it to be done. I want the Coyotes to have that permanent home, and I want this to be a profitable team. And like, hey, leave us alone.
Yeah, it looked great. I do kind of wonder, like, because all of the footage showed the lake. And I'm like, people are going to know that there's not actually a lake there. Like, the lake doesn't go that far. And they are not.
But
Arizona is currently in the midst of a water crisis. I think the last thing they're going to do is extend Tempe Town Lake. That just seems like a very ill-advised use of water.
probably. Would it look cool though? Hell yeah, it would.
It would, yes. If we somehow find a way to solve water, then it would be great to extend the lake. There was just one detail where I'm like, I know that part of town. There's no lake behind it. It's all lake bed.
It's all riverbed.
Yeah, riverbed.
I mean, theoretically, we could do something super elaborate, like just go steal a bunch of ocean water. Just put that right there. It's like, hey, we're not wasting our own water. We're just stealing ocean water.
I mean, like, they can do what a lot of other cities like have done and just like super treat the water and just release it as reclaimed water. Right there, like
They could.
I mean, take a lot of reclaimed water to do so.
Yeah, I remember years back, I was in college and I was living by the lake, very close to where the arena is going to be, and it broke, like because it's held like back by barricades.
Oh,
One of the
damn.
barricades broke, yeah, and the lake drained, and it was the most disgusting smelling thing I've ever like experienced in my life. Just like gross water, all gone, and just dead fish everywhere. Horrible, horrible time.
Sounds great. Oh, that's a party. Dead fish everywhere. Woo!
It's gonna be the selling point for one of the games. Like, if the Coyotes win the Stanley Cup, we're gonna drain the lake.
Drain the lake. We're gonna play hockey with the fish.
Yes. The rumors at the time, I think, was they released an alligator or a crocodile to eat all the dead fish.
That could backfire so much. Look, they're parkouring in Florida. Like I don't want those anywhere close to here because they've learned how to climb fences. They're evolving quicker than we are.
I mean, here in Arizona, like we have like. I wouldn't surprise if somehow the Gila monster evolves enough to just do something like that.
Oh, I'm keeping my eyes on the javelina. They're planning something. You just know it.
They are
They
planning.
really are. These things are vicious, angry. Why don't we have a sports team called the Javelina? You know what? They should move the Roadrunners up here and make them the Javelina, or bring a new lacrosse team in and make them the Javelina, because we need that sports name.
I have had a colleague of mine advocating for Prescott Valley to get an AHL team for a while, but
that'd be interesting. I mean,
yeah, but every single like announcer is gonna pronounce it like the Javelina.
Right. You're not wrong, unfortunately.
Especially if it's hockey, some like good old Canadian boy would be like, "Oh yeah, you got the ECHL Javelinas," and you're just like, "Nope."
I like it, love it. It's like, no, make it a javelina with a javelin. Then it fits no matter how they do it. It's pronounced properly. Then again, they always say Tempe. They say Gila River Arena.
Yeah, it keeps going like that. But once again, I just wanted to remind everyone that we're talking with AZ Sports Guy in today's episode of Locked On Coyotes. We're having a casual off-season conversation, kind of, getting caught up. It's the off-season. There are not a lot of hockey going on, but that's okay. We'll get through it anyways. We have more to get to on this episode, but first I got a PSA from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. You're hanging out with some friends and putting back a few drinks. A few becomes too many, and as the evening comes to an end and people start to head out, you think of calling for a ride. Nah, you live nearby. You can make it home okay. It's no big deal. What are the odds you get pulled over anyways? And even so, what's the worst that can happen? Your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you lose your job, you total your car, you kill someone. Everyone knows about the risks of driving drunk. The results are tragic and often deadly. However, that still doesn't stop everyone from getting behind the wheel under the influence. That's why police officers are out there right now looking for impaired drivers on our roads to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Play it safe and plan ahead and get a ride. It only takes one mistake to change your life or someone else's forever. Drive sober or get pulled over. All right, let's continue this episode once again with AZ Sports Guy, going through some of these topics of the offseason. Let's kind of move forward now to the draft, right? Because it was a wild draft for the Arizona Coyotes. They had, a number of picks in the first couple of rounds, and just go through the first, their 3 picks in the first round, and Logan Cooley, Connor Geekie, and Maverick Lamoureux. Like, Lamoureux still got the big question mark for a lot of people, but like Geekie and Cooley, there's a lot of talk around these 2 kids, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of talk. A little bit more about Geekie. It's weird. There's a lot of people that I understand. Like, one of my good friends, Kyle Pereira, is really good at giving me information on prospects. Not a big fan of his skating specifically, but there's a lot of people that don't like a lot of aspects of his game. But I'm like, but he's got size. He uses it. Good offensive ability, and as long as it seems the Coyotes are doing it the proper way this time, they keep hiring the right coaches and right development coaches, stuff like skating should be ironed out. Though, unfortunately, it probably takes an extra 6 months that you could have been working on something else. But I like that pick. Cooley, we don't even need to talk about Cooley. He's just the perfect pick, and the fact that from the rookie camp to his most recent World Juniors, he's just been electrifying. A couple of minor injuries that he's pretty much immediately bounced back from. Still hasn't lost any step back at all with his skating or his offensive ability. And then Lamoureux, I really like his work ethic and those intangibles. You can't teach a almost 7 foot wingspan or whatever it is. Big kid, just really big kid, good work ethic, and it's just I'm glad they got him under contract. I figured that would take another 2 or 3 years to do that. So maybe they see something a little closer than a lot of us are seeing, and I think they hit on all 3 of them so far. And it's actually kind of funny. I'm still high on Geeky. This is no way, shape, or form a knock against him. He might be the worst of the 3, as of right now, just with that Lamoureux signing. He's showing something. So I'm like, this is going to be a pretty good draft class.
I remember I shared a comparable, and unfortunately, Connor Geeky was compared to Dylan Strome, especially for that skating. And Coyotes fans were not excited about that comparison. But hey, he's not going 3rd overall with that being a significant crush. He's, what was he, 11th?
11th.
Yeah, he's 11th. Yeah, 11th.
Yeah. So middle 10, maybe still a little bit of a reach, but not gonna have that same level of comparison. I just love that Coyotes fans continue to have PTSD over every failed prospect, even though he had a really good season with Chicago.
I think I'm actually one of the few Coyotes fans that's high on Strome, because I heavily criticized Talkett at the time, because when you're watching 18, 19 was the first year I started covering. I was working at the arena as a guest service rep, so I'm sitting there, great view every single game. And just the little things that he was doing right on the ice, if he had top 6 minutes, he would have had top 6 production. He was running a more efficient second power play unit than the first unit was. I think all of his points at that point of the season, it was 6 points were on the power play. I was top 7 in face-off percentage. I understand higher expectations, and that's going to come with a 3rd overall selection. But it's just, I feel like if we had Tournier back then and a system that's a little more flexible for someone like Stromer, I feel like Coyotes fans wouldn't have nearly as much PTSD on that front. But then again, Kyle Turris, Martin Hansel just never hitting that level we wanted him to hit. Daniel Winnick's another one that comes to mind. It's just guys that either didn't hit it or just never turned out all that good, especially in Arizona. Completely understandable. I completely understand why there's some PTSD there.
Yeah, I think we could all agree. A lot of people did not do well under Talkett for some reason. I'm sure it's fine. He'll probably coach again.
Hopefully not. Unless he's coaching the Kings. You can coach the Kings all you want, Mr. Talkett. Get them away from the playoffs. I very much appreciate that.
I was kind of surprised he didn't end up in Philly. And it got Tortorella instead. I'm like, I am not sure who the better choice between the two of those is.
Either choice would have been perfect for that city. Just the attitude. I don't think it's going to turn out well. Don't mistake me for saying it's going to be good. Torts is a fine coach, but from what I can tell, he has a reputation of it kind of wearing on his players. It's either going to be they're going to be a top 3 team in the East for the first half of the year and crash, or it's going to be a crash from the beginning, and I have no idea which. I'm here for either one.
I kind of want it to be the beginning. I don't want to give them hope and then have Philadelphia come with a massive loss streak and end up with the first overall pick. That would just be sad.
Oh God, they get Connor Bedard. Them or Chicago getting Connor Bedard would probably be the worst case scenario out of all of it.
Speaking of which, let's say the Coyotes strike gold and somehow are able to get Connor Bedard. I want to paint a picture for people, and you included, of the Coyotes could look like in 2025, right? Of a top 6 that includes Clayton Keller, Logan Cooley, Nick Schmaltz, Connor Bedard, Connor Geeky, and Dylan Gunther.
Oh god, that kid's gonna be so good. Stud.
I mean, the big question is, where's Travis Boyd in that?
He'll be your fourth line anchor and find a way to score 15 goals there, because what is it with us having fourth liners? Like I liked Brad Richardson until I didn't, and then he just randomly pulled that sub 20 goal season out of nowhere and that overtime goal against the Predators. And I'm like, what is it with us and these fourth liners that for no reason, no logic, are just, hey, he's borderline like a second to third liner on your team for like this 50 game stretch.
I mean, for Boyd, it was easy. He spent the entire season with Keller and Schmaltz, who at one point, especially under Tocchet, were the fourth line for some reason. Going back to fun Tocchet decisions, like just being like, okay, so you have Clayton Keller and Nick Schmaltz listed as the fourth line. You're still playing them top line minutes. Why are they on the fourth line? Is it just to like send a message to them? I don't know.
It's all egos. It's either that or just there was a clerical error. We fixed it. It's fine.
Yeah. It's go ahead. You're gonna say something.
Oh, I was gonna say. So you were a fan of Cooley over Shane Wright, though, because I do think that was a big question. And like when you actually get there, I remember watching the draft. I'm like, do you stick with Cooley or do you go with Wright? Because it seemed like it was all about Wright for so long.
Mm-hmm. And it arguably to any hockey mind, it's about Wright all the way up until the draft. I personally didn't think I thought the Slavkovsky momentum and talk was just we see it every year. Oh, is the consensus number one overall pick actually number one? So I figured Wright would still go. But for me personally, as soon as I found out, I'll be a little more generic since there's more eyes on me now, in my opinion, reliable source fed me the information that after speaking to Shane Wright personally, he expressed zero interest in coming to Arizona, and considering the fact that BA, he only wants people that want to play here. He was even talking about before the draft, one of the first questions is, if we draft you, will you play for us? Do you want to play for us? Wright had no interest. And as soon as that happened, I'm like, get him off the board. Going at Cooley, even before that became a question we all knew of, hey, do you want to play here? Cooley's like, oh yeah, I love Clayton Keller. I love what they're doing there. The college arena wouldn't bother me at all. I'm like, this kid, like the most explosive offensive player in the draft, in my opinion, at the very least offensive center, and he wanted to play here. That's even if he flames out, which I don't see happening, that's still that level of exciting talent and wanting to come to the desert. That made it a no-brainer for me. I'm like, you go for Cooley over Wright, not because Cooley's guaranteed to be better, but because he wants to be here. He'll probably thrive more here because theoretically, let's say you take Wright. Let's say that source that I had, 100% accurate, doesn't want to be here. So we have another Kyle Turris. We have another situation where we draft someone that doesn't want to be here, and we wasted let's just say he goes third, a third overall pick. Yeah, that's great for the franchise.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at Geeky and Lamoureux, like both of them also really wanted to be here. I remember Geeky came down and was just like, oh yeah, love it. And I'm like, yeah, that's what happens when you bring a kid from Manitoba to Scottsdale, Arizona, to be like, you want to live here? They're just gonna be like, yes, please. And I don't think Lamoureux has stopped smiling in any picture I have seen him in. He's just like, what? I get to be in Arizona? This is awesome.
Did you see Geeky's comments? It was at the draft party, and after the draft, like, something about Arizona. I was like, oh yeah, well the weather's a lot better than Winnipeg, and I'm like, I love you. Get over here. I want to see you play in Tucson as soon as possible. I want you to be going through the system. Let's go, have fun. Screw it. Get Morgan. Find a way to acquire Morgan. Let them both play together. I don't care.
Just recreate Winnipeg Ice and just bring him to Tucson.
Hey, I'm just saying Winnipeg has a history of moving to Arizona. I am just saying.
A while back, we talked to Justin Emerson, who did work with ASU hockey. And I remember when I talked to them, like back when they were still an ACHA team, they would be like, yeah, we take a kid from Winnipeg. He's like the best of his thing. He's not going to be a professional hockey player. We know this. We take him down to ASU. We show him around ASU. We show him the girls. We show him the atmosphere. And like, hey, you're not going to be a professional hockey player. Do you want to just come play hockey in college? And like, yeah. Leave Winnipeg? Sure. And I'm like, yeah, that's how you do it. Still works to this day.
I guess we now know the secret to taking 18 and 19-year-old kids out of Canada. You want to come play with warm weather and good-looking women? Come on, let's go.
You're never going to be there when it's 115. What do you got to worry about?
You're going to be
Coyotes
back in Canada.
Coyotes are going to be playing in June, at least not for a while.
I mean, they can be if they want to be. I mean, freaking Austin Matthews is even though he was grew up here, but like still like he has his home in Scottsdale still, so he's always around.
And a lot of hockey players do the classic thing of retiring to Arizona.
Yep, Arizona and Florida, two of the biggest. You see it in football. I don't think you see it in basketball as much. You see it in baseball a lot, hockey. People come here. It's like, you know what? My wife is not going to complain about really good weather for most of the year. I guess we're moving to Arizona.
It was funny because I was, you said like all those former players and just in general, like I was joking about it because I was driving through Paradise Valley the other day, and I'm like, yep, this is where all the retired football and basketball and hockey players go.
Yeah.
It's all Paradise Valley. Yep, Paradise Valley, Scottsdale, Chandler. East Valley is just retired people.
They have enough money to be able to run the AC all through the summer for a massive place, so they're fine.
Yeah, they're good. Most of them probably have ice rinks in their basement. I would. Okay, no, I'd have a street hockey rink because I'm poor, but like same deal.
That's where I'm gonna try to find Austin Matthews' place. I'm just gonna say, all right, let's see what looks like it's colder with my house hockey rink.
Just have a thermal cam and be like, this one's colder.
Hello, Mr. Matthews, are you in? Gotta show up with a mustache though. Like, just get a marker, put a mustache on. It's like, hello, I'm looking for Mr. Matthews.
All right, so I need to share the story. Back so long ago, so goddamn long ago. One of my coworkers, when I was with the Harlem Globetrotters, it was our first year. He's like, yeah, hey, you know hockey, right? And I'm like, yeah, I know hockey. I was like, there's this kid who lives in my apartment complex in Scottsdale. Apparently he's a hockey player. I'm like, oh yeah? What's he like? He's like, he's tall, he's blonde, European looking guy. I'm like, Oliver Ekman-Larsson? It's like, that's it. I'm like, you live with Oliver Ekman-Larsson? And this was like, he had just come up from the AHL, like, I think the season before. So like still fresh, didn't have the money. So he's just living in a Scottsdale apartment complex. And me and the guy didn't get along too great. So I never got the chance to be like, hey man, can I just come over to your complex and hang out and maybe meet Oliver Ekman-Larsson? But if we had gelled even like a little bit, that definitely would have been something that happened. It was just like I don't necessarily want to hang out with you, even if it means meeting one of my favorite players.
You dropped the bag, Carl. You should have just changed your entire personality to emulate this guy, just to fake being his friend for 6 months so you could actually get your way to Oliver Ekman-Larsson. You would have been working for the Coyotes right now. You wouldn't be on a podcast. You'd be lifting a cup. I don't know where you're going with the cup, but you're lifting it.
I'm just a member of OEL's entourage. You'd be like, yeah, he pays me. I hold his like bag sometimes. It's fine.
Just chill there and tell him how good of a defenseman he still is. It helps him get up in the morning. It's fine.
Be like, no, OEL, it's fine that you started a clothing line that sells just bottom underwear and hats.
My favorite fashion statement. Underwear and hats.